Welcome back to my channel, where a homeowner learns a valuable lesson about roads and driveways. Our next Reddit post is from Gimme Coffee. In 2017, I purchased a home in a small town that had been built in the 1960s. The house was a steal at $300,000, but it was going to need a new roof and a new driveway. The driveway was not level and had several cracks. It also had some tree roots growing up through it that needed to be removed. I'm planning to build a garage in the future, so a level driveway was important to me. I should mention that I live in a state that does not require permits for most work. My neighbors are all elderly, with the exception of one neighbor who lives at the end of the road. He's probably in his late 30s or early 40s. The road that my driveway is on is private and has 4 houses on it. There are no street signs, and the road is not plowed in the winter. We each pay for our own snow removal. When I say each, I mean everyone except this one neighbor. That's him in the white pickup truck. He's never paid for snow removal and always tries to convince us that it's the city's responsibility. It's not. I've asked him many times why he doesn't want to join us and pay for snow removal, and he says it's because he pays taxes to have the road plowed. I explained to him that we don't pay taxes for the road to be plowed, and he says, well, I do. Whenever I bring it up, he just gets pissed off and walks away. I called around to several paving companies, but they were either too busy or didn't want to take on the job. Most of them said it was too small of a project and it wasn't worth their time. I finally found one company that would do the work for $3,000. The guy told me to go ahead and pull the permit and he'd come out when I was ready. But first, I needed to get the trees trimmed. The quote was for a double-wide driveway, but there was a big tree in the middle of the road that would need to be removed in order to pour the concrete. I knew that the other neighbors would be pissed if I cut down that tree, so I decided to just make one extra wide driveway instead. I called an arborist, and he agreed to cut down that tree and 2 others that were hanging over my property for $1,500. One day, while I was cutting brush along the road, I met one of my neighbors. She had a cast on her arm, and she asked me if I was going to fix the road. I told her I planned to, and she said, I better hurry because my friends over there don't like having to drive on dirt. I could see her glancing at her other neighbor's house, and then she kept walking. I finished cutting the brush and sprayed the whole thing with weed killer. A week later, I got the okay from the arborist that he poured the foundation for the new driveway. All that was left to do was pour the concrete. The morning of the pour, I went to start my truck and it wouldn't turn over. I tried jumping it, but it just turned over one time and then died again. It ended up that the battery was dead. I pushed the truck into the driveway and started working on the battery. When the company showed up to pour the concrete, I had to stop them from driving past my truck to get to the driveway. We moved my truck and they started pouring the driveway. 3 hours later, they were done. They charged me only $2,800 instead of $3,000 because I had already cut down the trees and removed them. I put gravel on the driveway to help keep it level until the concrete fully cured. That afternoon, I was going to call my neighbor to let them know that the driveway was done, but I saw that she had driven by with her husband, and they both had looks on their faces like I had personally offended them. Before I could wave them down, they were past me. I continued on to the next neighbor. He looked at me and asked, "Did you fix the road yet?" I told him no, but I had just had my driveway poured. He then proceeded to tell me how selfish I was for not fixing the road and getting the entire neighborhood pissed. He said that I've caused them to have to drive on dirt for long enough, and they're sick of it. He also said that I need to plow snow off the road, and that I owe him $300 for damage to his truck, because apparently he bottomed out driving on the uneven road. He ended his rant by saying that he's calling my bank right now to cancel my loan. I thought it was funny that he said he was calling my bank to stop my loan. He then stomped off to his house. I laughed and went to my garage. The following weekend, I brought out my stump grinder and started grinding out the stumps. I made it a point to grind the stump that was in front of my neighbor, his house, down as low as possible. When I was done, I filled the holes with dirt and planted grass seed. I figured that he would calm down and hopefully accept the fact that his road was not getting fixed. A few days later, he came out of his house yelling and screaming. He demanded to know why I ground down the stump. I told him that I just wanted to plant grass seed in the hole. He told me that the stump was there to keep cars from parking too close to his house. I asked him what he wanted me to do, move it to the side of the road, and he said yes. At this point, I noticed that his truck was missing its bed. I asked him what happened to the bed of his truck, and he lied and said that he traded it in. Then he insisted that I move the stump. I told him that I wasn't moving it. He stepped toward me with his hands clenched and asked me if I was threatening him. I responded, "Am I threatening you by threatening to call the cops?" His face got red, and he ranted about how he was gonna ruin my life, and then he went inside. For the next week, he repeatedly called my bank to try to stop my loan. They told him that they couldn't do that, and they offered to send someone out to look at the road and the stumps. He refused and hung up on them. Every time he came outside, he would yell something new about how he's going to sue me for destroying the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. I ignored him. Then out of nowhere, he comes running down his driveway waving a piece of paper. He yells at me, "I've had enough. I'm suing you for the value of my destroyed property." I take that piece of paper, look at it, smile, and tell him, "You're joking, right?" He tells me that I'm going to regret that. I put the piece of paper in my pocket and continue on with my day. Later on, I opened it up and it was a quit-claim deed. He had quit-claimed his part of the road to me. This guy had quit-claimed a public road to himself years ago, and no one seemed to notice. He must have thought that I wouldn't check. I printed out a copy of the quit-claim deed and took it to the county clerk's office. They stamped and recorded it for me. Now, you may be asking, why didn't he just record it in the first place? I think that he didn't record it because he thought that he could change his mind later on and take the road back. The lady at the county clerk's office said that once a quit-claim deed is recorded, it cannot be undone. He then called my bank again and asked them to stop my loan. They told him that they couldn't do that and offered to send someone out to look at the road and stumps. He refused and hung up on them. Every time he came outside, he would yell something new about how he's going to sue me for destroying the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. I ignored him. He then comes running down his driveway waving a piece of paper. He yells at me, "I've had enough. I'm suing you for the value of my destroyed property." I take that piece of paper, look at it, smile, and tell him, "You're joking, right?" He tells me that I'm going to regret that. I put the piece of paper in my pocket and continue on with my day. Later on, I opened it up and it was a quit-claim deed. He had quit-claimed his part of the road to me. This guy had quit-claimed a public road to himself years ago, and no one seemed to notice. He must have thought that I wouldn't check. I printed out a copy of the quit-claim deed and took it to the county clerk's office. They stamped and recorded it for me. Now you may be asking, why didn't he just record it in the first place? I think that he didn't record it because he thought that he could change his mind later on and take the road back. The lady at the county clerk's office said that once a quit-claim deed is recorded, it cannot be undone. After that, he stopped calling my bank. I finished paving the rest of the road, and now I own the road. If any of the other neighbors want to use it, they'll have to ask me. I doubt that they'll ask, though. I'm glad that you stood your ground with this guy. You didn't cave into his demands, and you went ahead and did what you needed to do. Sometimes people really suck, and this guy sounds like one of those people. But I gotta say, maybe lay off the caps lock. It was hard for me to read all the things that he said. I mean, you don't need to use that much caps lock. Okay, it's fine to use sometimes, but you don't need to use that much. Our next Reddit post is from Madman Beyond. Many years ago, my father owned a home in a retirement village in Florida. As you can imagine, this place was full of Karens. One day, his HOA sent him a letter demanding that he pave his driveway within 30 days, or they would do it for him and bill him. My dad decided to comply because he didn't want to deal with the Karens, so he began planning his driveway. His driveway was shared with his neighbor, but the neighbor didn't seem to care. My dad even checked with his neighbor to make sure that he was happy with the plans, and the neighbor said go for it. Everything went according to plan until the day before the scheduled paving. The night before, some people were out drinking, and one of them was a heavy sleeper. When my dad woke up, he discovered that his neighbor had passed out drunk in the middle of the driveway, completely naked. So my dad couldn't pave the driveway. He knocked on his neighbor's door and yelled at him to get his ass out of the driveway. The drunken neighbor said, "No," and went back to sleep. My dad tried to wake him up again, but he wouldn't budge. My dad then called the police. The cops showed up and arrested the drunk neighbor for public intoxication. They also woke up the neighbor and told him to get his butt out of the driveway. After they left, my dad paved his driveway. The neighbor was furious, but there was nothing he could do. The neighbor still owes my dad $1,200 for half of the driveway. He refused to pay it, so my dad put a lien on his house and then sold his house and moved to a different state. Hey, remember to vote for the best story of the year. Also, if you enjoy these stories, please check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also hit that subscribe button because I put out new videos every single day.